All right, welcome in everybody to the Important Nonsense Podcast. Steve Bonham, Neil Smith, Mike Manning, 32 teams in 32 days. We're talking about the Tennessee Titans. Guys excited to tighten up?
Tighten up! Tighten up!
My brother just moved down to Nashville, so
it's the best part about this team, that it's in Nashville. That's it.
Yeah, it's the biggest thing for it.
And getting to yell tighten up.
Yeah, just screaming tighten up.
Isn't there a mascot like either a panther or something? Like weird?
No. Is it like a mountain lion?
I think it was a cougar.
Yeah, I think it was
like a cougar or a mountain lion or something.
Yeah,
it's not a panther. There's no way it would be a
whatever.
panther.
It's a dark colored cat. Which
right,
I didn't understand.
You look that up. You do.
I am looking it up because this is how much time we have to fill
on
this
August
show.
17th.
With the four players that we're going to talk about.
Yeah,
seems out of date. That would be why.
He's a raccoon, which is the state animal of Tennessee.
A raccoon.
That doesn't look anything like a raccoon.
Well, they call him T-Rack.
Okay.
We deliver the real analysis here, folks.
Hard-hitting analysis here.
That's like that video of was it Robbie Anderson when he first got to the Panthers and he was like confused about the mascot?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wasn't the only thing he was confused about.
Yeah. Why did I come here?
Playbook. I run that way.
Oh man, T-Rack has his own Twitter and it has more followers than me. All right,
T-Rack also. You can't tell on the thing, but he does have the raccoon mask on there.
Yeah,
I never even noticed it, but
I've never seen that part.
Nope.
No one has.
Never would
have
have
guessed. I was still trying to unpack T-Rack, but it's Tennessee Raccoon. It kind of makes sense.
Patreon.com/important nonsense for all of your mascot information that you were looking for.
We'll get a mascot ranking soon.
Yeah, at the top tier, you get the rankings, the projections, the stat book, and all the information you could possibly handle about random mascots.
Mike, we've done that. It's just
the trash pandas.
Gritty tier 1, and then everything else.
Also, everything here, 12-team PPR. So if you play any format other than 12-team PPR, adjust accordingly. And shop.importantnonsense.com. Go get your Jack shirt, Jack mug, Jack beach towel. Wrap yourself in Jack. It's getting to be sweater season. Get your Jack hoodie. I mean, there's other products too, but just get all the Jack.
Somebody did buy a Jack hoodie the other day. They want to drape themselves in Jack.
Who doesn't? Get the Jack sweatpants. Get Jack's face down your leg. It's fantastic. It's all good stuff.
Warmer than that mustache.
All right, good show.
We did it.
Good show, everybody. All right, good show.
All right, now we can talk about Tannehill.
We start at the top with Ryan Tannehill. He's not here to mentor anybody. He's here to play football and play quarterback. Ryan Tannehill projects out for me as QB 14. So, I mean, I've got him 21, Neil 19, Mike 23. The ECR has him at 21. I'm not saying take him at 14. I'm saying he's like a good safety blanket. We've mentioned Ryan Tannehill many times throughout this process as take your upside flyer and then just take Ryan Tannehill and feel good about it as your QB2 because he's your safety net. If something goes haywire with your upside guy, hey, you've still got a top 15 quarterback.
Yep.
He's the top of my tier 6, which is right in that neighborhood, right in the I need a quality backup. So that's kind of what it is. So
he doesn't have great weapons, obviously. I mean, losing AJ Brown's not great. But he ran for 5+ touchdowns in each of the last 3 seasons.
That's the reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, Tana wheels, baby. Tana wheels.
We know this. This show knows this. You do get a nice sneaky rushing floor with Ryan Tannehill with some nice rushing touchdowns typically.
It's not with it's not with the yards. He only has about 200 yards or so each year, but the 5+ touchdowns it's a lot of points.
Yeah. And we've talked a lot, Neil, about our Dockers tier.
Yes.
Ryan Tannehill is not the Dockers tier, but really he's like the Faded Glory khakis, the Walmart off-brand khakis tier.
He is the Costco khakis for sure, 100%.
Like, whoa, 10 pairs of pants for $5? That can't be right, but I'll take it. That's basically what Ryan Tannehill is.
They're not great quality pants, but you get so many pairs of pants that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you destroy one, it's fine.
I can spill whatever I want on these. I got 9 others. Why do I care? This is great. That's what Ryan Tannehill is. There you go. All right, running back.
Oh, wait. Hold on. Before we go out of quarterback.
Oh, you want to move?
Well, I just want to say something
about Malik Willis.
Just for 1 second. Don't draft Malik Willis in redraft.
No.
Can we just not? I just want to put fine point on
anybody is.
I see weird things on Twitter, man. People talking about this because of the preseason, and he played that half a game that people liked, and I like Malik Willis fine for Dynasty. At some point, it'll be fine. It'll be a thing.
QB 36. He would be going in the 22nd round if there was one.
Good. That's where he deserves.
If there was one.
Good. Good. There you go. Good. Good. Okay. Sanity is reigning here. Good. Good.
Running back. After finally looking human in 2021, thanks to a broken bone in his foot that forced Derrick Henry to miss over half the season, it was the first time Henry played fewer than 15 games in his NFL career. But he was the number 1 running back in points per game with 40 more points than the number 2, which was Eckler. I've got him at 11. Neil, you've got him 7. Mike, you've got him 6. So does the ECR. I'm baking in the old age and that he's coming back off the injury. And he didn't look great coming off the injury, but at the same time, he rushed back to be there in a playoff game for them. So I'm not really holding that against him. It's just he's 28. He can't do this forever.
I mean, genetics might say otherwise for him.
Is he also on the tequila and avocado diet? Is that?
I don't know. Based on his workouts, it's a lot more than just tequila and avocado. All those workout videos of like giant chains that could like tow a truck and everything else.
Look, nobody has beaten Father Time, but Derrick Henry can kick his ass.
Yeah. Tom Brady's just like prolonging and like pushing Father, like stiff arming Father Time.
He's buying off Father Time. Derrick Henry is
like punching him in the face.
Derrick Henry's taking his shirt off and is trying to fight him,
intimidating Father Time.
And you wouldn't want to fight Derrick Henry. I don't really care who you are. Like you're
flexing on him pretty aggressively.
It's not going to go well. You might win the fight depending on who you are on the pantheon of people. But you're not going to win without a cost. You're not going to walk properly afterwards. I will, and I've said this every year, Steve, I will be a year too late on Derrick Henry. We try to pride ourselves on being, right on time or even a year early if we need to be. But you know my love for Derrick Henry. Mm-hmm. I already know this. I will be the guy who's a year too late. It's going to happen. I will be that person. That's why I couldn't go any lower than 7. I couldn't do it. I tried. I couldn't bring myself to do it. Every time I tried to do it on the spreadsheet, it's just my brain wouldn't allow it, and I had to move him back up. So if he flames out, I'm going to live with it. I'm willing to live with it. I can't deny there's the sheer upside. The one thing that will hurt you badly with Derrick Henry, if you're afraid of anything with Derrick Henry, we know this. We've talked about it every year. He makes his living by getting that volume. Because when you actually watch Derrick Henry play, it's not the first couple carries in the first quarter and the second quarter and the first half that really are impressive. It's watching Derrick Henry play the whole game, and by the end,
downhill in the fourth quarter,
they don't want to tackle him anymore. Those defenders they don't want it because they're tired. He's not tired historically, and he's still battering. What is your catchphrase for Derrick Henry? That it's just
every time. Yeah,
that's Derrick Henry, and it's. If we get to a point where he can't do that anymore, then you're going to have a real big problem, because that's how he's made his name, and what he does is by still being able to deliver these vicious, punishing hits in the third and fourth quarter. And by the end of the game, he's decimated that defense, and he's still running. So if we get to a point where he can't do that, that's going to be a problem. But for right now, I have no evidence that he can't do it. I refuse to buy into that one playoff game that he didn't look good in, coming off a massive foot injury way earlier than he should have been. I refuse to believe that that's going to be him for the remainder of his career. So I can't.
But I mean, you mentioned the volume. This is one of my favorite stats from last season. There were 11 running backs in the NFL last season who had 215 or more carries for the entire season. Only 11. Derrick Henry was one of them.
Yeah.
And he only played in 8 games.
Exactly the point.
He was just, I mean, like you said with the stat for before he got injured, he had 40 more points than the number 2 running back in fantasy at the time. Like, he was just on a dominating tear of, he's one of the only players in the NFL that you're going to sit there at the running back position. You have the chance that you have the upside of his breakaway speed, which is so crazy at his size, but he's a player that could have an 80-plus yard touchdown out of nowhere, and multiple of them even. And he's going to have 350 to 400 touches.
Right.
If healthy, guaranteed, because look at what's behind him on the backfield, and look at what the other weapons are on the offense.
Yeah.
This is the Tennessee Henrys.
Right. And again, just the insanity of it. Through 17 games, weeks 1 through 17 last year, the fantasy season, all the way to the championship, Derrick Henry in total points finished as RB17. And again, he only played 8 games. Like, yes, you can say he was number 1 far and away in points per game, but my God, just the numbers that he put up were amazing. He had more carries than Josh Jacobs. And Josh Jacobs played 15 games last year. This is unbelievable.
So I don't blame anyone for taking Henry in the first round, early first round, mid first round. Somebody's going to have their mentality of just going for that huge upside of a touch monster that's going to just be the entire offense. I have historically stayed away from Henry because I have thought, eventually he's got to wear down, right?
Right.
So that's my historical, but he just keeps punching Father Time in the face. So I don't know.
I'm very much that other guy, Mike, who's
maybe
in the middle of the first round, give me Henry. Perfect. Love it. Build my team around it. Couldn't be happier.
My whole thing too, we're talking about. So we've talked about several times, it's Jonathan Taylor and Christian McCaffrey at the top. And then after that, there's just a tier of guys. And I'm fine with you taking any of them. But to me, Dalvin Cook is going to get a huge workload and catch passes, and I'm good with that. Austin Eckler, same thing, pass catching monster. Najee Harris is a young guy who's going to get a decent workload. Joe Mixon has that whole backfield to himself, like we talked about. DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones taking over the pass catching with no Devontae Adams in Green Bay, and then Leonard Fournette, who we just talked about yesterday, and now Alvin Kamara. Those are the guys I have ahead of Derrick Henry. Kamara is the only one that I'm I don't know. He's also getting up there in age. The offense is going to look different, even though it's basically the same coaching staff. So maybe he doesn't have the same volume. Maybe he doesn't put up the same numbers. But I'm good with Henry right around 10, back end first round. I'm all right with him as my number 1. And the main reason I'm good with him as my RB1 in that scenario is because, like we talked about yesterday, I can get Leonard Fournette with him. And I can just get 2 of those guys and feel pretty good about it. But that's really what it is. If I'm going to take Derrick Henry, I feel like I have to have some kind of insurance policy so that if I'm right and the wheels fall off, I've got a solid RB1 behind him to carry the load for me.
And if you're looking at behind him at Haskins and Hilliard, if Henry does get injured again by some reason or something does happen, it's going to a committee. Don't handcuff him.
They're probably going to sign somebody too to make it a 3-headed monster.
Thing. But Haskins isn't going to be some rookie that's like a similar style or something and just get handed the workload. No. And Hilliard is not a runner as much as he is a receiving back. So it's just going to be a headache again.
Yeah, I will say it's going to be Haskins would be interesting to me. I think of the two, he's the more likely to get a closer to full workload, but it will be a committee. Hilliard will be the third down guy no matter what, but Haskins will get some of that work as well. We saw last year with Donta Foreman filling in, he was able to get some of that workload and do okay as a flex-worthy player the last half of the season. So it's not going to be great, but I think if anything came out of it, it would be Haskins, but that's something you could pick up off the waiver wire if you absolutely had to. I'd rather do that. The wide receiver core is led by a veteran coming off an ACL surgery, Robert Woods, and an unpolished first-round rookie with all the physical tools, Treylon Burks. I had this discussion with Jack a couple weeks ago on Jack Knows Best. We were talking about Treylon Burks. But there's been a lot of discussion this offseason about the conditioning of Treylon Burks and what he's been doing in camp. And I'm just wondering, is asthma for Treylon Burks, is that this season's version of the ball looks different, the spiral is different, the shape is different from Jamar Chase last offseason? Remember when we had to have that discussion? Is this people just looking for red flags because they want to find red flag?
I think so. And I don't normally discuss this, but I have asthma. I've had it since I was 3 years old. So I've dealt with it my whole life.
Tonight on a very important.
No, I only bring it up to say that in the course of my life, they've come up with a litany of new treatments
right
to deal with that problem. And it's not fun, but I'm just a man with a normal person level income and access to doctors. Treylon Burks ain't that. They got a whole medical staff and a whole medical team to deal with that type of thing. And I'm saying if I can get access to things to open my lungs up when they need to be opened up, what do you think they're going to be doing for him? Like, I'm not worried about it at all. I think it's a giant smokescreen. Like, his conditioning is what it is. If you want to worry about something, I got like 15 other things that I could hip you to worry about that would be a bigger deal than that story.
I would also say if that was actually a problem, it didn't seem to affect him when he was catching 66 balls for 1,100 yards at Arkansas.
Also, by the way, they would have known about that in the pre-draft process.
Right.
This is not like you're not going to sell me on this argument that they learned about it when he showed up.
Right.
No, I refuse to believe that that's how that happened. I completely reject it out of hand. They can do any number of medical tests to determine if you're asthmatic or not. Ask me how I know. Like this isn't just utter nonsense to me that this is this is the narrative that people want to try and push, and this is the hill I'm seeing people want to advise. Stay away from Treylon Burks. He'll be doing asthma treatments, and it's like they'll give him a little puffer, and then he'll put his arms up over his head for a second and jog in place, and then he's going back out there. That's it. Like, it's not that complicated.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's been anyone this offseason that had more of an up and down of extremes than Treylon Burks. Like one week you obviously saw him off the field, not practicing because of conditioning. The next week he was in practice making one-handed catch that was, highlight for the entire week. And then he was in the preseason game, he didn't have a catch. Well, that's also because Malik Willis was running around in circles instead of throwing the ball, hence him being benched.
Yep.
And then now we have another of the inter-team scrimmage that they had between, I think it was Tampa Bay and Tennessee, and has another one-handed highlight reel type catch. He's got the upside. I mean, could he have a slow start to the season? Of course. Not every rookie is going to hit the ground running and just dominate from day one. But this is their first-round pick. They are using him to ideally replace A.J. Brown, and Robert Woods is coming off of an ACL surgery at age 30. The one has way more upside than the other.
Yeah.
Like astronomically.
And we'll get into it in a second here too, but not just Anthony Ferkser leaving, but just specifically from the wide receiver core. We already mentioned trading A.J. Brown. No more Julio Jones, no more Chester Rogers, no more Josh Reynolds. So you lost 4 guys that you were using in your offense last season that combined for 209 targets. It's got to go somewhere. And they're going to have a much more competitive and difficult schedule this season than they had to deal with last year when they went 12-5. And they're going to have Derrick Henry back, and they're going to want to grind it out and try to beat you with defense and running the ball. And they can probably do that. But I also believe that even on what is a low passing offense, they're still going to have enough to go around for both of these guys in Woods and Burks to be useful. One of them has to be at least the wide receiver one on the team, right? Even if they split these down the middle, just the sheer amount of targets that are there for them, they would have to be usable, at least flex options.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned flex options. I kind of have them both. I view it as like a 1A, 1B situation. Because I think they're going to be asked to do different things to a certain extent. I think Robert Woods is going to do his normal job where he operates a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage, works some of the underneath stuff, probably gets some carries, believe it or not. Wouldn't shock me. I've kind of got that baked into my projection for him because that's historically what we've seen him do. And I think that they're going to probably try to play to his strengths. So he's going to be, by a hair, the 1A. And Treylon Burks is going to be the 1B, who works down the field. He's going to work over the middle, longer stuff. He's younger. He's faster. He's more athletic at this point. And that's also, by the way, that was the A.J. Brown role, which is what I think they're going to have him do. I think this is the easiest paint by numbers thing of the year. They were telegraphing this pass on draft day, where it's like, we got rid of A.J. Brown because we think we can get younger A.J. Brown. And that's, I mean, they're directly telling you that that's what they think. So for me, I've got Robert Woods at 36, and I've got Treylon Burks at 40. I'm ahead of the ACR in both categories. I feel pretty good about either one, to be honest with you. I think there's very little risk involved in either one. The thing you would worry about really is injury for either individual. But outside, if you remove injury from the conversation, I have very little concern about volume or production for either player. They're both supremely talented and will have ample opportunity to produce.
Yeah, I think they're going relatively close to each other.
Yeah,
so
Woods is going at 40 and Burks is going at 45.
Yeah, so it's just a pick your poison. Do you want somebody that you can expect to have around 10 to 12 points per game in Robert Woods? Or do you want someone that you're hoping has a breakout rookie year that can, skyrocket to the high value when Treylon Burks?
Yeah, Woods right now is in the top to mid 9th, and Treylon Burks top of the 10th. And I have both of them, like I said, I have them essentially splitting that number one role, and both of them projected in the top 30 at wide receiver on a points per game basis. So to me, I have them both ranked right around 30. And obviously, again, let the draft fall to you. I'm not saying you have to take them in the 6th round or whenever that would be. You can wait till the 8th round and get both of them, and it doesn't even matter. Either one of these guys is going to be valuable. I think that, to me, Burks has more upside because he's the younger guy. As we've mentioned a couple times, Mike has mentioned coming off the ACL surgery for Robert Woods. Does he have a downtick in production slightly? Maybe there's more of a cap on his ceiling than there is for Treylon Burks. But yeah, to me, if I end up with either one of these guys, the price I have to pay, I end up with him as my 5th, 6th wide receiver. So
something like that.
Yeah, I'm good.
It's fine.
Yep. You can't really end up upside down on either of these investments.
Right.
Shouldn't really be theoretically possible to get a negative return.
Yeah. And that's it. Outside of the the Kyle Phillips, Nick Westbrook slot scenario, I don't care about.
Nick Westbrook is a interesting player, but he has no relevance for fantasy for 2022. I realize he had a couple decent games last year, but that's not something that you should be drafting.
I mentioned Anthony Firkshire now gone. They sign Austin Hooper to take over as the number one. Jeff Swaim is there as the backup, but I have Hooper projected for about 62 targets this season. It's slightly more than what Firkshire got, who was dealing with injuries of his own and also dealing with not being good. So both of those things played into his role on the offense last season. But like I said, I feel like this is another one of those things where Austin Hooper, he's going to have to get in the end zone to matter. He's somebody that you can pick up on random weeks depending on the matchups. There's always that one defense every season where you're like, I don't care who the tight end is. You play your tight end against the defense.
It was the Panthers. It was the Panthers a lot of the time, actually, recently.
It used to be the Browns. It was the Jags for a while that they would always give up at least like a touchdown to whoever the tight end was. They just couldn't match up because of the linebackers. There's always somebody. Whenever the Titans play that team, Austin Hooper is the name to know. That's
Go ahead.
it. Otherwise, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He's right near the end of I'm punted tight end entirely, so now I need to get 2 at the end. I need to double tap it. I'm okay with him being one of the double taps.
Yeah.
And if you want to make a hard left down narrative street, all the buzz out of camp is that he and Tannehill are getting along just fine, developing some real measurable chemistry. But again, that's narrative street, so I wouldn't
Hanging
read
out at the cowboy bars.
Yeah,
just
wouldn't
having a
read
good
too
time.
much down into that. Yeah, going to check out the bachelorette parties happening in Nashville. Fun fact: Nashville, bachelorette party capital of the world.
Good to know. You learn a lot of things
Yeah,
here.
you
First,
learn
we
a
learned about
lot of things
mascots.
here.
Now, bachelorette parties. We're covering a lot of topics here that have nothing to do with fantasy football, but
Well,
we're
there's
at
only
least
about
getting some kind of information.
There's only about 4 players that matter as far as drafting as it relates to the Titans. So it's you get a wall of padding on either side.
Defense and kicker. The Titans have a good defense for the NFL, but not for fantasy purposes. So you are not interested in them at all. Don't be confused by that. Also, their kicker, Randy Bullock, there's a reason he's been on so many different teams in the NFL. You don't want him either. That's it. That wraps it up. We're done in Nashville.
One of our quicker episodes.
I mean,
Again,
I'm surprised it took this long.
Well, that's because
Yeah,
we spent
we'll
so much
see.
time
We added-
talking about mascots and bachelorette
T-Rack
party.
and
Yeah, what?
Yeah, T-Rack.
I told you from the top. You got to
Shout out to T-Rack.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know, T-Rack, we'd
Whatever
love
you
to
are.
have you on. If you
we
want,
would
if you wanna-
actually. We
Yeah,
would.
if you want to come on for an episode, we'll give you one of these squares. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
if you want to talk about hot chicken and bachelorette parties, come on down. We'll do a
I'm
special
telling you,
show.
if we're giving fantasy advice and then in the lower right corner, there's just T-Rack just eating hot chicken the entire time, it'd be our highest viewed episode ever. I'm just saying. It's throwing
I'd
it out
wanna
there.
watch it.
If he's interested, I'd be interested in that for sure. It'd be distracting, but it'd be quality entertainment.
It would be quality entertainment.
All right. Tomorrow we're on to Washington, marching on DC. So
Tighten up.
no, not tighten up. But until then, keep up the nonsense.
I'm Tim Kitzer from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, and you can find all the guys at ImportantNonsense.com. Kaboom!